Hello, it's Ask Guillem time, and I'm going to go straight into the questions. Busy week, by the way, of course. In Anfield on Tuesday, Amsterdam on Wednesday, and on Thursday, we'll be doing the EuroLeague's show from Manchester. So we'll be watching together the Valencia Arsenal game, and then do the show after that. So busy week. Let's start with Mesut Kule. He says, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, you've seen last appearance of some of the players today. What do you think is going to be looking to ship out of Old Trafford? Right, we know which players belong there and which players don't. It's a squad that needs refreshing. We've said that for a long time. I agree with all of it. The problem will be, how do you actually get rid of some of the players with the wages they've got? So names won't be mentioned until those players start finding teams that are willing to pay that kind of wages. And it won't be easy. So for Solskjaer, the most important thing is, of course, get new players of quality, but change the culture of the club. And that's the thing that he will have to, has tried to do, hasn't worked with all the players there, and will try to implement from next season. So it's not just about players. But out of all of those, the most interesting one, in my eyes, is Pogba. Why? Because Zidane wants Pogba. Florentino Perez doesn't think he is required. And Manchester United are saying they're not selling, plus every single sign coming from the entourage of the players that he will be available. So you are talking about a fight of interests. Let me tell you one thing from the Real Madrid point of view. Why does Zinedine Zidane want him? He feels that he can use Casemiro as a holding midfielder, Kroos next to him, not as a two, but holding more than attacking in the case of Kroos. And you saw at the weekend Fede Valverde almost as the number 10 or further up the field and impacting the game from a second line, that an offensive midfielder position, which is where Pogba will play. So he will be protected by two. This is if Manchester United sell. And they're saying they're not selling. That's what they're saying. So you have to go by that at the moment and keep an eye on what it may happen. It reminds me of the Coutinho situation at Liverpool when Liverpool decided not to sell, and basically they didn't sell, despite the fact that agents and media played a part in this and tried to put pressure. And Barcelona thought that they were getting Coutinho. And this is in the first instance. Of course, he won eventually. But at the moment, what we're getting from United is that he's not for sale. Now, a different question is, do you want this Pogba in the team? And that is one that is hard to answer, because this Pogba, no, but not only at Manchester United. You don't want him at Real Madrid. Can he maintain and sustain a performance that you think like, well, yeah, this is actually a Pogba that will give you the working rate that you need, will react well when he loses the ball, and you have to say you don't know. I don't know, because sometimes he looks that Pogba and sometimes he doesn't. So I think Solskjaer, when he's talking about quality, he needs the Pogba of these worlds. He's not going to go for them. I think he won't go for super names. He'll go for players that can be Manchester United players, and will try to convince Pogba to change his mentality and his way of playing. That's what I think will happen. But we'll see. Lee Williams is saying, after Liverpool's performance in the Camp Nou on Wednesday, do you think they have a chance to go through on Tuesday? Few things to say on that. On the injury of Salah, for instance, what I'm hearing is that FIFA have asked the clubs to implement a protocol of 6 steps if he has been concussion, and they tend to give 24 hours or ask for 24 hours per step, which goes from the player doing a little bit of running to eventually being fully into a training session. But that timing can be changed depending on a scan, which is take place today, Monday. There was a scan on Sunday, I believe, and there was assessment from the doctors on Monday, Liverpool doctors. It depends if there was amnesia, and I'm hearing conflicting reports. On one hand, they're saying, no, there was no amnesia, and others on the pitch, the assessment on the pitch, it seemed like the first 5-6 seconds he wasn't answering. So it could be amnesia, in which case definitely he's out of the game against Barcelona. And it depends on that immediate assessment, the information of which nobody really has from the doctors on the pitch. So even though he walked back into the coach on his own and carrying his luggage, nobody knows for sure if he will play. I know the club was sending positive signs. I'm also hearing reports that he will be out. So we should know more a little bit today. But in any case, if there is concussion, he won't play and Liverpool have to try something else. But nothing changes in a way, because yes, he can guarantee stretching the defence of Barcelona with those little touches and the pace in what he does things. But at the same time, the important thing against Barcelona was what was done without the ball, the ability to cage Barcelona in their own half. And that kind of attitude you'll get as well from Sturridge, from Origi, from Wijnaldum if he plays up front again, from Shaqiri. So you are talking about the kind of system and formation and style that Barcelona don't like to play against, especially at Anfield. So they do have a chance. They will have a chance. They will score against Barcelona. I just feel that Barcelona will score as well. And two, the other thing I wanted to say about the game is Messi. It was Captain Messi, almost like a superhero title. Captain Messi that day. He did a lot of things in that game that I hadn't seen before in just one single game from him. Not only the free kick, which was amazing, not only the goal that he scored, the fact that he actually was more alerted to that rebound from when the ball hit the bar than Van Dijk, who he himself admitted should have done better. There was more. There was the talk that he did to the hurdle, the Barcelona players just after the warm-up before the game. The fact that he had a go at Arturo Vidal because he should have shot instead of square in one of the chances, and had a go at Ter Stegen because he was playing too long and too quickly. He tried to influence the pace of the game by, for instance, rolling around when he was pushed by Milner, by facing Milner, things that tried to make sure that broke the pace of the game and the rhythm of the game and the tempo of the game, like, for instance, walking back very slowly after the game and even telling the referee, what, when the referee was saying, come on, because Liverpool have to restart the game. And all that was basically a Messi that realized that he had to do something, wanted to do something, because the game was played at the style and the pace that Liverpool wanted, and that just doesn't suit Barcelona at all. He was exhausted at the end, and despite all these things that he was doing, protesting to the referee, demanding more of the teammates, he was just being frustrated as well by the fact that there was a big distance between the defence and the midfield and the forwards because of the pressure that Liverpool was putting in. So he was trying to influence it as well as with the goals and with the ball. He was trying to influence it that way, and it kind of worked. He probably feels that he did enough for it to work, but still, at the end, he was exhausted. So was the players of Barcelona. That was because Liverpool had such a magnificent performance. They did not deserve the 3-0, but it's going to be very difficult to turn that around. Cam Kashmiri is saying, what do you think Emery has gone wrong in his last phase in the Premier League? I imagine you look at the season as a whole, and you have to say that it got more points than last season, so has stopped the demise of Arsenal that way. Meanwhile, implementing a different style, different leadership. This, in my eyes, was a transitional period out of which he won't be able to make the top four. There's an 8-goal difference with Spurs and 3-point difference. But he can make it into the final of the Europa League. So I would say he's done well. Because, meanwhile, he's trying to implement a style that people don't see. And because they don't see it straight away, they think like, there's no style. And it is down to putting layers to the teams that can play in different ways. That's what he wants, versatility in the side, in terms of tactical performance, in terms of formation, in terms of how you react depending on what happens in the game. There is the flexibility of City and Spurs. There's a flexibility at Liverpool. Why wouldn't Arsenal have that? I know that commentators and fans want straight away answers, want to see Arsenal exactly in the way that, in one way or a way that is recognizable. That's not what Emery is trying to do. And it takes a while, and it takes better players. For instance, you need better centre-backs to play the ball from the back. You need more dynamism in the midfield and quality and experience as well. Things that we'll like to bring in. Now, the way that when I spoke to Arsenal last, the way they were explaining the defeats were everyone was a different one. Had to do with sending offs, had to do with goals scored, goals conceded, a lot of things that they wanted to individualize every defeat. But then, of course, you see the last game against the draw at home, and you think, well, it was such a good opportunity to actually get the 3 points against a team that was playing for nothing, really, in Brighton. Now, that is something that, of course, Unai Emery will have to explain. But it seemed to me a team that was not sharp, physically sharp. A team that right now, like other teams at the top, like Chelsea, like Spurs, like Manchester United, they seem to be in their last legs. They made mistakes against Valencia, for instance, but they attacked so well that they managed to get the 3 goals that could take them to the final. In the Premier League, when a team offers physicality and strength, you need to have a more balanced team, a more balanced performance, and you didn't see a lot of that at Arsenal against Brighton. So you are talking certainly about an Arsenal that wants the season to end, but one in my eyes that have done well enough to be considered this 6 or 7 out of 10 season for them. Rudradut Ranat says, can Spurs overturn the first leg loss to Ajax? And you know, the more I think about it, the more I say yes. I know that the big story, of course, will be an Ajax-Barcelona final, or the fact that Ajax makes it to the final. We all know now the lineup of Ajax, and we know everything about the players, and we know that everybody in there is wanted. But I saw the second half against Ajax in the first leg, and I saw a Spurs that eventually played in the way that Pochettino wanted. They were on top of Ajax. I know Ajax had scored a goal already, so perhaps they didn't feel they needed to attack or take risks. But when they tried, they just couldn't either. So you were talking about a team that in Spurs that were affected by the lack of power and strength up front, quality certainly, but that in terms of performance, team performance, they made life difficult to Ajax. If they come out like that, it's only 1-0. And I do think they can score. So I think it's going to be, you're going to find yourself a lot of the time in that game saying, Spurs can do it. And I think they can. I believe they can. It's not all down to belief. It's all not in the mind. It's just the fact that, of course, Son will return. And then the reminding of that second half and that the way they came out, the way they were strong physically, the way that didn't scare Ajax, but made Ajax less comfortable with the ball. That's what needs to happen. And we know that Spurs can play in the same way, home and away, same way. They're not scared of anybody, even though they seem to be very respectful of Ajax in the first leg. So, with the formation that was changed, with Sissoko introduced into the team, you would see perhaps a more similar performance of Spurs in that second half. Not 3 at the back, but 2. I assume Sissoko in the team, of course, Son returning, and a lot of signs, I think, that this is still possible. And thoughts on Sarri's first season with Chelsea so far? This has been an interesting one, because the perception has been that he's different, foreign, not completely understood, and he's been criticised very harshly because some of the decisions, Hazard on the bench, the formation, the style, all that. But targets have been met big time. Semi-finals of the Europa League and top 3 at the moment. So what do we do with that analysis halfway through the season, in which people were pointing out the fact that, he smokes, or that the way he behaves. And it seems to me a lot of the perceptions have to do with the nationality of the coach still. And at some point that will be addressed. at some point people will look at it, at the performance of what they're trying to do, a coach that is different, a coach that is perhaps eccentric, but what is it that he's trying to do and will not have to do with the nationality? That's what I think. Sarri, it's now when you have to make the judgment yet again. The rest of the season, you can of course have an opinion, but you have to try to decipher what he's trying to do. And to be honest, he doesn't fully have the players for what he wants to do. That in a way includes Hazard, because Hazard is a free spirit in a team that Sarri would like more structured, with more obligations. So when that happens, they have to part company. Let's see what happens in the transfer market with Chelsea. I think Hazard will go to Real Madrid. And I know that Sarri will have liked Hazard to play more his style. But while he didn't do that, he gave him, of course, and the team a lot. So he'll have to be replaced by players that suit that system if Chelsea believe in Sarri, which I believe they do. I believe they allow him to build that squad to suit his style. Anyway, that's it for us, Guillem. I'm going to prepare to go to La Liga TV and more things that I have today. So meanwhile, see you later and enjoy the week. I'll be talking during the week to you about the semi-finals, and I want to hear what you think of it. So talk then. Bye.